Hey everybody, it's Irene with BrainStormAcres. And Henry's busy slogging off through the mud, and I'm busy slogging off down to the studio. I have like 50 million things to do today. Yesterday was a casting day in the studio, so I'm going to take you down there and show you a little bit of the aftermath of casting. Gorgeous out here today. Most of the snow is melted off except in the deeper spots, but you can see that east of us, Williams, and east of that even, Flagstaff got a ton more when we got rain, or didn't get as much. So it's gorgeous. We got a great view, but we didn't have to put up with quite as much shoveling. Today was actually, I don't know what the actual temperature is, 39 right now in the National Forest. It's about the same here. The National Forest weather station is actually about 8 or 10 miles north of town, so sometimes it doesn't have a lot to do with what our weather is here. So, slug, slug, slug. Unfortunately, the north side of my studio is in the shade, so yeah, when we have snow, unless I shovel it perfectly, which I did this time, it's messy. Okay, it's going to be noisy in here. I'm going to have to turn off some of the noise so that I can hear myself think. Very messy. Currently being used in between projects to store a bunch of things. And that noise is the vibratory tumbler. Now we can hear ourselves think. I'm also running a regular rotary tumbler, which makes a little bit of noise, but it's not nearly as dramatic as the vibratory tumblers. I have the top of this one open because I was just throwing things in it this morning as I was working. And I thought, you know, it's been a while since I showed any of the aftermath of casting around here, so I thought I'd do a little bit of that today. So let's go over to my workstation where I've been cutting off things. Drop off my water. Let's check the stove before I get too involved. Make sure that we have enough wood in there. I think we do, but I brought in some less than totally dry wood this morning, but once I've got the fire going well, which I do now, I can throw the wet wood in and it dries out just fast and burns. I have some dry wood over here and I have more stashed under there, but normally I try and bring in a regular rotation of dry woods. The problem is we've had rain or snow forever, so it's less dry than I would prefer. Still not awful. I've still got some that I can get from the pile by the door, which has a wee bit of a cover on it. This is one of my most common locations to do cutting off of things after they've been cast. Apron. I can wear a decent apron for this. This one was a brand new apron until, it was actually from a class I took years ago at Rio, until I went to an event and a mousy climbed in my toolbox and chewed a hole in it. I was very annoyed. That's the nicest thing I could say. But I love these aprons that tie like this for working in the workshop. Anyway, so old beat up vise. Couldn't tell you how long we've had that. I think we got it second hand to start with. When I cast things, let me pick up a cast piece here. This is sterling silver. This is kind of what it looks like. Let me get the... These blue things are media that are used to polish, and in this case do a preliminary polish and sort of knock out a bunch of the investment, which is the white junk in here, which is like a special type of plaster. Anyway, these are a bunch of Thor's hammers pendants. And to give you a basic idea of how this works, you've got a piece here that's made out of wax originally. You've got a connection here that's also wax, and it's attached to a wax base. And this is put inside investment, which looks like plaster. It's cooked to make everything hard. The wax melts out, and then when it's all melted out, you pour it from this direction. You pour the metal in there that's molten. And sometimes I have people say, well, gee, why does things cost so much? And it's because they somehow think that it comes out of the cast looking like perfect and ready to use. The only thing that comes close to that is when you have pieces that are cast in pewter. Sometimes the pewter pieces, the only thing you have to do is cut off this little section right there, which is called a sprue. But when it comes to pieces that are cast out of hotter metal, because this is about 1800 degrees, and well, here's another Thor's hammer. These are done in bronze, and this is about 2000 degrees. So, yeah, it's a little warm. Pewter is usually cast somewhere between 500 and 600 degrees. So, big difference. It takes different equipment, and the process of cleaning up afterwards is different, because with pewter, most of the times you're casting an individual piece in a mold, and with this, you're casting a whole stack of them that have been taken from a mold and put into a new mold for lost wax casting. So, let me show you the basic process at this point. So at this point, what I need to do is I need to get these pieces off of the base. So I stick it in sort of sideways, and I have a little saw. I have about 3 or 4 of these, made by multiple companies. It doesn't really matter which company they're made by. I would say that Bahco, B-A-H-C-O, probably has the most comfortable handle. Husky also makes them. The handle is not as comfortable. It's just a straight bar. It has some good girth to it, but it doesn't have the finger spots in it. I prefer this one, actually. But I use them both interchangeably, depending on what's going on. And I'm going to place this so that I'm going to be cutting off just the extra, not the actual pendant part. Now, if you watch me do this, see if I can rotate this a little. This is locked in place, so I may not want to unattach that. Not going to want to. Anyway, basically, what you're gonna see me do is, you're gonna see me place it. You'll see me put my finger there. See me slide my finger up against the side of the saw. And I'm touching this part of the saw which has no teeth. This is the part that has teeth and will cut you. And by directing my first few cuts, I can get a groove going in a spot that I want it to be going, and then I can continue to saw. I don't want to damage the pendant. This particular type of pendant has a little bit more flexibility in that I can change the shape of the pendant slightly, and it's not a disaster. But there are pendants and things that I make that are very distinctive and therefore have to have all of their metal in place. Otherwise, they're not what they were booked to be, so to speak, billed to be. Yeah. There we go. You can see I need to file and shape this part off, and then I can touch up any marks on here that I don't like, and I'll throw them in to be polished. I can do some of the polishing by machine, using the various types of vibratory tumblers and rotary tumblers that I have. The rotary tumbler is the one that's making the noise in the background right now. And then I'll do any final touch-ups with either a Kratex wheel or some other type of grinder that gives me more precision. And I'll also drill a hole right through here so that I can put a cord through there so that somebody can actually wear this as a necklace. Now, this has to be done for every single one of these. And this one was a pretty easy one to cut off. Sometimes, with the sterling in particular, I can use what they call a sprue cutter, which is a very special kind of sharp, large pair of cutters And these are probably my favorite ones right now. I have another pair that needs to be replaced that I like probably even better than this, but sterling is soft enough that sometimes you can cut it with one of these. This might be a little on the large size. Boing. And see, that's one of the problems with doing that, is it takes off across the room. Let's see if I can find it. I have the floor swept nice and clean, but sometimes it's still hard to find. And there it is. There's a little bit more trash on this one. There's more sprue left than there is on the one that I cut off with a saw, but it actually took less effort. So when I do have small sprues, I will often cut them off with a saw. I mean with a cutter. Most of these are too large and therefore cannot be cut off with anything other than a saw. Now if I choose a different one, let's see, I have some crescent pendants. You know, they look like a little crescent moon. These are in bronze, but they may still be thin enough for me to be able to get in there and cut off with a sprue cutter. Let's try this one. Again, I'm having to cut as close as I can because I really don't want to waste the metal, particularly on the sterling, but not even on the bronze do I want to waste the metal, because I'll reuse the metal to make new castings. Now, that's not going to quite let go. If I were to jiggle this forever, it would come loose, but it's not going to. So on this one, I'm also going to need to cut it. Let's see what I can get. One of the tricks with these is trying to find one that you can take out so that you have clean access to the other ones, because you don't want the saw blade to accidentally damage the neighbors. There we go. That one came out pretty easily. Let's see. It'll be like that. Little crescent moon. I'll clean off this part here, probably with a wet sander. And then this is actually a hole in here. Sometimes the hole casts perfectly and doesn't need any alteration. Sometimes it's still got the plaster stuff that I was telling you about, the investment in there. So I just cleaned that out. Now you can see through it. But yeah, let me take this over to the wet sander and I'll show you how I would fix these guys up. Alright, there we go. Wet sander. Let's see if the light will turn on. It will. That's a good thing. The switch on this light is wearing out. So at some point I'm going to have to replace this light. This is an old desk lamp that I've been using forever. Okay, wet sander. Source of water is up above. It's an old water jug that I recycled. I have hosing that comes into my wet sander that is actually drip hose, drip irrigation hose. Works just fine. No reason to replace it with anything else. You can turn this on. It's going to make water come down here, and you can see it running down there. I don't want it to run too fast, otherwise I'm going to have a mess. I'm also going to turn this on, which is going to be incredibly loud, and I'll just have to show you because it's going to be so loud I'm not going to be able to talk. another cast piece, the little crescent. Remember, he has the hole in him.